It's time once again for the Kennett Indian Coaches Show as we talk with Kennett Indian head football coach Joel Wyatt. And Coach, you came off a big homecoming win against Kelly, 26-18, ball game that went back and forth. Great to get a victory in front of a big crowd, but at the same time, I know you saw some things you wanted to clean up this week.
Yeah, it wasn't our best game. I thought we did some better things in a couple of losses against Paragould and St. John. I don't know if it was the homecoming festivities, the week that entails all that, or I think some of it was the opening kickoff. We fumble, and I give it right back to them, short field, and they go in and score, and just like that, just kind of let the air out, just playing catch up from that point on. But
well, let's talk a little bit about that opening fumble. That was a play where it could be described as a hustle play. He had three guys on him, and instead of going down, he's trying to get an extra yard or two. And a lot of times when they're held up like that, they're trying to strip for that ball.
Yeah, Kelly made a good strip on it, and but we didn't have very good ball security all night. We put the ball on the ground two other times, but fortunate for us, we got on them. But, then we dropped the ball there at the end that could have sealed the game, kept the chains moving, we could have ran out the clock. But, just rather it happened during a win than during a loss. But, we've just, like I said, we've got to clean some things up.
Well, after that fumble and a quick 6-0 deficit, your team answered. Ty Jones with a touchdown run, and it's 6-6. And extra point conversions, they didn't happen a lot for either team last Friday night.
No, we're just not very good in that category, whether it be snap, hold, or kick. It seems like protection so far has been pretty solid, but that's something we worked on this week, and we'll see what we do Friday night, and I'm just not going to continue to do that. I'd rather go the 2-point route if we're not going to be very consistent with it. But it was a good thing we answered and moved the ball right down the field. Got a couple third down conversions. I think one even was a fourth down conversion. Nick Fonda got the first, and then
and that drive took a lot of time off the clock too. And a lot of times that's important when you can drive down and eat up a lot of clock and put points on the board.
Yeah, and then Ty took it in on a nice quarterback run. So,
well, you always talk about forcing turnovers, and block punt gave your team the lead, 12-6. Cruz Duffel, the sophomore, scooped that one up, took it into the end zone. But you had good penetration on the punts all night.
We did. That's something we work on. That's a good scheme that Coach Collier has had with him for a long time. Something that we were very successful with at Malden, and then even the first time here at Kennett, the same one that we've used going all the way back those years. And like I said, Collier's used that forever. And Elijah Covington, he does a good job of slicing through there, and got a piece of it. And Vaughn Downey does a good job. Those are our two guys that really do a good job. And then Cruz got a nice hop and then took it in for the score.
Well, right before the half, one of the prettiest touchdown passes that I've seen, but Ty Jones to Zane Franklin just right along the pylon, corner of the end zone, and that was I was afraid they were going to call it out of bounds or just short, but that was definitely across the goal line, and 6 points gave you the halftime lead.
Yeah, you can definitely see it on film. He got his foot down. Right there inside the pylon, and that was one of our better drives of the night because we got out of bounds. I know D. Anthony caught a couple flat routes, and he got out of bounds using good judgment, stopping the clock. And then, we had a couple check with me's there, and we just executed well. We didn't panic. Some things that we work on in practice. It's nice to see that carry on to the game. And then
A lot of that
Yeah,
starts with your senior quarterback, and I thought he handled it really well. He's getting those
yeah,
play calls, and but your guys have to get lined up and set too in that hurry up
yeah.
situation.
Like I said, that was a really good drive for us, and then Ty capped it off with a really nice ball there to Zane.
Well, you're up 18-12 at the half. What was your message to your team at halftime of that homecoming game?
Well, it wasn't very comforting. Hey, that's okay because it wasn't. They knew we weren't playing like we were capable of. I think we just came in thinking we were going to roll Kelly, and credit to Kelly. They were, I think, they were more physical than our kids thought. And to be honest, I'm not going to sit here and think that I thought we could match them physicality, but they knocked us off the ball. Just running simple power play and running between the tackles. They did a good job with it, and I think a couple of their D linemen were a little bit better than we thought. So credit to Kelly. They did a good job, and I think our kids were a little overconfident, and so the halftime message was we got to quit shooting ourselves in the foot, and it just wasn't one of our best halves, but that big drive at the end was much needed.
Yes. Well, defense kind of stood out and missed opportunities offensively for both teams in the third quarter, but your team creates another turnover to start the fourth quarter, and Antonio Hollywood with an interception, and then it's nice when a guy that makes a good defensive play that also plays offense can get the touchdown, and that's what Hollywood did. And your Indians go up 24-12. Had to be a good statement to start the fourth quarter and jump out to that lead.
Yeah, it was nice to finally get a 2-score lead. You could breathe a little easier, and Hollywood, he's pretty hard to handle when he gets in the open field, and I'm glad he's just a sophomore. He's just going to get bigger, faster, stronger. He made a nice run there on the jet sweep, and so that was good execution for us. And he made a nice cut there to get into the end zone.
Well, what you probably didn't appreciate was just 3 plays later, Kelly getting in the end zone to make it a one-score ball game again. And I know that's one of the things that you're probably working on this week is those bigger explosive plays, and certainly has hurt you some.
Yeah, matter of fact, we worked on it today. We were supposed to be in a cover 4 look. We weren't lined up right on both those chunk plays they hit us with. We were just totally messed up and lined up in the wrong spot. We didn't have another DB back like he should have been, and then our linebackers, our inside backers weren't getting any depth on their drops, and I created a void on one of the throws over the middle. And so, yeah, that's something we've definitely worked on this week.
Well, Cruz Duffel with another big play late in the ball game as he sacked the Kelly quarterback in the end zone. That gave you a final score 26-18, and always good to get a victory. And we talked last week about the challenges of homecoming week, and then we turn around.
Yeah.
We're doing this interview on Wednesday, and it's Fair Week, and
Yeah.
it's armband night, and
Yeah.
we're a little before 7 o'clock when we're talking, but
Yeah.
probably practice today. Those guys were thinking about getting out to the fair.
Oh, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. I just try to preach, put the game first. You got to be smart, make good decisions. There's going to be a lot of people there. You know how teenage boys are. We just got to avoid confrontation, so to speak, as best we can, and got to keep everybody out of trouble as best we can. And I hope they just go and enjoy the evening without having any issues with anybody from out of town, and just enjoy the evening and get to bed at a somewhat reasonable hour, and be ready to play.
Well, let's take a break. Coming up, East Prairie, a team that I'm sure there's some bulletin board material after that 52-0 loss last year. And East Prairie comes here to Kennett this year. So we'll talk about the Eagles when our Kennett Indian Coaches Show continues right after this. East Prairie, next up for the Indians, another home game at Metz Cherry Stadium before you have to go on the road for 3 games. Certainly nice to be at home, and you owe the Eagles a little revenge after a 52-0 loss last year, and that ball game got out of hand in a hurry at East Prairie.
Yeah, they put it on us last year. I remember seeing that score because being at West Plains, I still followed Kennett, and I was totally shocked by that. And Coach Penrod coming from Portageville, he had a lot of success there at Portageville, and then last year's first year here, I think they went 8-3, mm-hmm. And then he's pretty much doing the same thing. He's not going to hide anything. They're going to line up, shotgun, full house backfield, and just try to be happy with 3-4 yards in a cloud of dust. And so that's kind of what they did last year, and that's what they've tried to do on film this year. They had a large senior class last year, so they are still trying to find the right mix. They do have a good running back / quarterback back there, but they're happy with taking 3 yards and knocking you off the ball, and trying to get 10 yards in 4 plays, not necessarily 3 plays. So we know it's going to be a challenge for us because, right now teams have ran the ball on us, and they only really throw it when they have to. So, we know they're going to try to run the ball, and we've got to be better at stopping the run this week.
Well, stopping the run, and then I'm sure that offensively your team, when you're playing a team that's 0-4, if you can get up 2 or 3 scores in the first half, it's a lot of times that's just a big boost, and kind of gets the other team down and feels like, they start feeling like, well, here's the 5th one.
Yeah, that's huge. St. John scored on the first drive. Kelly got the ball and scored on the first drive after our turnover. So, it'd be nice to flip that script and put points on the board first so we're not playing from behind.
Well, East Prairie here at Metz Cherry Stadium, then the Indians on the road for 3 straight weeks. So I know it's Fair Week. What a great homecoming crowd, and we hope a lot of folks will come out. Even though Fair is going on, you can come out here at Metz Cherry Stadium. Go out to the Fair early, then come on out here, 7 o'clock kickoff, and cheer on the Indians.
Yeah, I do want to say, Perry, that crowd we had Friday was just – it was outstanding.
And the fireworks just added so much
great
to it.
And that's what you want to have every Friday. I know it's pretty common here to have it at your home opener, to have it homecoming. But, man, we've got to get this thing going where every Friday night it's an event people want to go to and support these young men. And, I thought even the St. John was a pretty good crowd. So, man, I hope they come out this Friday, and because I think the kids are playing hard. They're trying, and they're good kids. They're very rarely do we have one in trouble. We hear about from another teacher, hey, so and so got in trouble. So they want to please. They're coachable, and man, I just wish we'd have a big crowd like we did homecoming.
All right, let's get a big crowd Friday night. Let's get a win and get a little revenge on East Prairie on Friday night. Coach, good luck, and we'll see you Friday night.
All right, thanks, Perry.
All right, this has been the Kennett Indian Coaches Show.